Good morning, this is Tega and I'm in Ireland. I'm coming to you today just to tell you about a visit I had last week on the 6th to on the 12th of November. I was opportune to be in Kyiv, Ukraine. I went to Kyiv, Ukraine with my husband, and this was because I have been following the teachings of a man of God, Pastor Sunday Adelaja, on the Facebook for a while. And when he said that he was organizing a training called the History Makers Training in Kyiv, Ukraine, where he is, I just knew that I had to go. I had to go because Pastor Sunday is a man, from his teachings, I could see that just like the word says, and the Bible says, and the word became flesh and dwelled among us. That was just the way his teaching was. He brought the practicality of the Bible to the present day 21st century. His teaching is amazing. He comes up every morning, 7:30, and every evening, 7 p.m. He comes up on his Facebook page. And I've been following his teaching for a while. So I just felt I had to go to Kyiv, Ukraine. And it would be a disservice not to share my experience in Kyiv, Ukraine. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I said, I just have to do it. It's just an impression in my heart that this experience must be shared. And so I'm coming today to share that and many more experiences. When we got to Kyiv, Ukraine, we were picked up at the airport and we were taken to his place. His place is kind of a very big house, 2 houses in fact, of which over 60 bedrooms. He only lived in like about 10% of the house, and the remaining 90% is just for the church, for visitors, for trainings, and for anybody that just wants to come and know how their church runs and how things are done in their church. And it was an amazing experience. Honestly, it was. It was. We arrived on a Saturday, and the next day was a Sunday, and we went to church. We went to their church. And this was church like I've never seen before. Church like I've never seen before. It was so full of people with so much love to give. It's a church that is like 99% Caucasians, but it was so full of love. You could see that everybody had a purpose. Everybody had so much confidence in the church. It was an amazing church. And the service, the testimony time, it was testimony time with a difference. I was amazed at the kind of testimonies that people were coming up to share. Testimonies of how they've started a rehabilitation home, or how somebody will come up and say, a member of this church came to preach to me. I was down and out, I was homeless, I was on drugs, and had prayed for me, and I got healed, and I was taken to the rehabilitation center. And in 1 year, I know myself now. I know my God. I know myself, and I know where I'm going. The kind of testimonies that people were coming out to say, I've never heard them before. People come out to tell you about the service they are doing for the community, the service they are doing in the States, the service they are doing for children, the service they are doing for the down and out in society, or the service of people are coming up and talking about the new television program they just started, and how the program is helping man and it's helping society, and they're just waiting and asking for suggestions on how to improve the program. Those are the kind of testimonies. Testimonies about service. about service, I was amazed that I never heard of a testimony about, I just bought a car today, or God just blessed me with a house, or I just realized that those testimonies, they are good to be shared, but those are not the testimonies that touch lives. Those are not the testimonies that encourage people to know that anything is possible if you believe. And I saw a different kind of testimonies. A church full of service to humanity, service to man, service to children, service to society, service to the government, to politics, to widows, it was all about service. It was all about service. And it just brought me to the remembrance of God, of Jesus coming. He came for a purpose. He came to die, to redeem man to himself. And that was just an example of what I was seeing in the church. People knowing where they are called to redeem, where they are called to serve, where they are called to help humanity, and moving out. But I also realized that it wasn't by chance. It wasn't by chance. They were strategically being placed, being taught on how to recognize their calling, on how to recognize their purpose in the church. And they are equipped to know the God that they serve, to know themselves, and to know where God has called them to go. And they are released into the society. They are released into the society to influence and come back with testimonies and go back again, refresh yourself in the church, and go back again in the remaining part of the week and influence wherever you're called to influence. That was a church with a difference. But this is how it is described. A highly systematized strategic institution that trains and equips people, causing them to look like Jesus. That was the kind of church. They train and they equip people, causing them to look like Jesus, to reflect Christ, to reflect Jesus in their activities, to reflect his love, to everybody that comes in contact with them, to reflect Christ in the area that they've been called to work on, in the area that they've been called to influence. It was an amazing time. A church that had 40% of their parliament members coming from that church, because those are the ones that wanted to go into politics, and they were equipped, they were trained to go and influence politics, to go and change the politics, to reflect the principles of the kingdom of God, to reflect honesty, integrity, to reflect joy, peace, to reflect the values and the virtues of God. 40% of their parliament in Kiev are the church members, knowing who they are, knowing what they are called to do, and influencing the areas for Christ. It was an amazing place. A church that have over 3,000 NGOs, all serving, all from the members, different members. Every person, majority of the people in the church know where they are called to serve, and they are serving in those places, following structures and systems, not just by chance. They were not serving by chance in those places. They knew how to do it. They were taught how to do it, how to take those spheres of society for Christ, and they were running with it. A church of so much hard work, so much that there was no laid back person. Everybody had a purpose. Even the youths, they had purpose. They had purpose to influence. It was a great time. A church that was touching the poor, the weak in society, the addicts, the widows, the singles, the orphans, the fathers, the single parents. A church that had their hands in every sphere of the society of Kiev, Ukraine. They were all so confident, and I now realize that their confidence comes from being leaders in their own area, that are pursuing their purposes. Wherever your purpose is, that's where you lead. And 95% of them, their purposes were outside the church. Their ministries were outside the church. But they only come to church to refresh themselves, fellowship with the brethren, and go back again and pursue their ministries. Everybody had a project. Everybody were taught to pursue something, to live life for something greater than themselves. And even the man of God, Pastor Sunday Adelaja, was an example of what he was teaching his people. His life was a life of service. His life is is a life of service. He's so disciplined, so purposeful, manages his time well. Everything he does is for a purpose. And I saw, when we were going to the church, I saw the van he uses, because he uses a van just because he needs to carry other people as well. So the van takes is it 6 or 7 people? And when I saw the van, I was taken aback, because what the big picture of it was on the van was Christ. You know, Christ on the cross. You know, the passion of the Christ. Whereby Christ had the thorns on his head, the crown of thorns, and all the stripes and all the bleeding. It was that graphic, like the passion of the Christ. That was the picture on the van, on his van. And what was written on it was, "Don't go to hell. I did this for you." You can imagine Christ with the crown of thorns on his head, with the blood bleeding from all his body, with all the stripes, with all the blood, hanging on the cross and saying, "Don't go to hell. I did this for you." And the number plate was, "God is alive." That was a car serving its own purpose, a purpose of evangelism. The car itself, his own car, was serving a purpose of evangelism. What an amazing person. What an amazing person. And we now started the training. Oh my God, oh my. The History Makers training. It was a training for a week. I've never been so stretched in my life. I never knew someone can exist with 2 or 3 hours sleep for a day for 7 days. So every 24 hours we sleep like 2 to 3 hours. It was so congested, so packed. It was kind of, they were stretching us to the limit to let us know that we can be stretched. It was good. In the morning, we had time. There was time to eat. There was time to train, to study, to read, to submit assignment. There was time for everything. It was a place that you were taught to redeem the times. To redeem the time. That if you're going to be an history maker, you have to learn to redeem the time. Time waits for nobody. Time waits for nobody. We'll wake up by 7:30, we are supposed to be having our breakfast. By 9, you are supposed to be in the prayer. After 9, you're supposed to go through trainings, workshop. By middle of the day, we are given a book to read. I never knew you could finish a whole book in 2 hours. We were stretched to read those books in 2 hours, to come up and to explain what we read in the books. And after that, you go more trainings, more lectures, more workshops. And we'll be finishing around 12, 1, 2 midnight or 2 in the morning. And we are told to go to our rooms with a detailed assignment. We'll be going and we'll just be running. In fact, we'll just be running to do assignments. And the assignments were all strategically designed to lead us to something, to lead us to knowing who you are, why you are called, what you are called to do, which area of society you are called to influence. And those assignments that we are starting by 1 or 12 or 1, we are told to submit it 7 a.m. in the morning. So you kind of do your assignment till like 5, you put it, you turn it in, and you sleep for like 2 or 3 hours. And you had to be at the prayer ground by 9 o'clock. And if you are there 1 minute past 9, you are given a red dot. a red dot for being 1 minute late. If you are 1 minute late from submitting your assignment by 7 and you submit 7:01, you are given a red dot. And 3 red dots, you're told you're not ready for this training. That was how strenuous it was. But it was so enjoyable. That was a training that you needed to ask for grace of God to make you go through it. And God saw us through. God saw us through. Even the staff in the place, even the staff that runs the canteen, they were all fully working with time. They are all principled people with so much love and so much diligence and so much initiative. There was nobody pushing anybody to do their work. Everybody knew what he was supposed to be doing, what time they were supposed to be doing it, and they had so much peace around them. Even as diligent as they are, even as hardworking as they are, they had so much love to give out, so much patience. It was just an ideal place. It was just a place that you know that you are taught that anything is possible if you believe and you're ready to work for it and you're ready to pursue it with everything you've gotten. It was a place where you are taught that you have to fight for every minute of your time. And that is the way he lives as well, Pastor Adelaja. He fights for every minute of his time. Every minute of his time is for a purpose. He knows the time to rest. He knows the time to be busy. He knows the time to read. He knows the time to develop himself. He knows the time to go for his programs. He plans his life with time. And that is how we should plan our lives. With a plan. Every day should be planned. Our next 10 years should be planned. Our next 5 years should be planned. We should have a plan for our life. We should not be tossed here and there by the winds of changes. We must know the God we serve. We must know ourselves. And we must know who we are called to serve. The God you serve, yourself, and who you are called to serve. At the end of the week, each student, each of us, we had 5 phases of life, 5 phases of society, 5 nations, 5 phases of things, of society, of decisions, 5 decisions where we wanted to make a difference. 5, each person. We had to draw up a system and a plan and a structure and a time frame of how we were going to make this 5 decisions, this 5 spheres that we want to influence, how we're going to bring it to reality. How we're going to bring it to reality. We were taught how not to waste our time here and there, waste our time in so many frivolities, but how to stay focused on a goal and on a plan and how to run with it and bring it to fruition. We were told that you can't do anything without having personal time with your God. Without having personal time to seek the face of the Lord, to know him, to love him, so that you can better represent him, so that you can better reflect him. We are taught how to have time for solitude. After, no matter how busy our lives are, to always dedicate times, maybe a period in a week or a period in a month, that you just go to your God and just fellowship with him and just honor him, just rest on his bosom. Just be his friend. Just hear from him. Understand him. Know what he wants you to do. Know how he wants you to go about it. And come out again and begin to do it. You must always have time for solitude. Have time to hear from God. Have time to be with him. Have time to study without all the distractions. Your Bible, your messages, your notebook, your pen and paper. As you talk, as you fellowship with him, as you read, as you write, your mind will begin to be opened. You begin to hear what he's telling you to do. You begin to write it down. You begin to write. That you don't go to a place of solitude without an expectation, and come out without getting ideas, getting things from God that he wants you to get. That is the purpose of solitude, of having time away from the crowd. Jesus Christ always took time away from his disciples, from the crowd, just to be with God. And that is what he wants us to do. As we begin to plan our lives, as we begin to focus, as we begin to have goals and direction, we should always take time from time to time to just be with God and to fellowship with him and to hear more from him and to love him and so that we can better represent him. We can better reflect him. We can know where we ought to be at every sphere of our life, at every stage of our life. And I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'm going to stop here today, and I'll be back next week to talk about the lessons, specific lessons I learned from the training, the History Makers training that I went to in Kyiv, Ukraine. God bless you. God bless you.